Institute of Textile Science and postgraduate diploma from Goa Institute of Management. And he has over 2 decades of experience in financial services industry. So, friends, I would request all of you to do not lose this opportunity. Whatever questions you have, keep on posting in the chat box and post the conversation. You will have opportunity to ask the questions directly from DJ. You can come on the video and ask the question. So without much ado, over to you, DJ.
Thanks a lot for your kind words of introduction, Rajni. I think it's my pleasure to address my CFA brethren. And I think I have been asked to take you through my career path over the 2 decades which I have been in the financial services industry. I will not put it in any chronological order because I think what matters is when you start in your career is the right set of skills. I think a weightage on the skill set is something which is very much required to get an entry into an area which you are seeking. And if once you have made up your mind in terms of taking up a job in a particular area, I think you train yourself to be there. So that is something which is very, very obvious and important as well for anybody who is seeking a career in a particular sector or area. Since we are all into financial services and we know that it has been, so I mean, I'll not start with my jobs per se. What I would say is that how I ended up being into finance. I started as an engineer, and I still remember that in the auditorium when we were being inducted, our director had told us that if you want to sell shampoo and go for a marketing kind of a job, don't waste the seat and just leave the institute right away. And I still remember that, and I think that did I do that? Did I waste the opportunity at that point in time for somebody who was much more deserving and would have continued in the engineering job? I don't think so, because I think every place you have been, I mean, I think the training which we got during our engineering phase gave us a lot of analytical skills, and the quantitative and analytical skills really have helped me in putting a foothold into the financial space. If I still remember, I think a couple of my job interviews only they asked how many marks did you score in mathematics. That was the question they had asked me, and I had very good marks in quantitative, both in my engineering as well as in my school as well as in my MBA exam. So that held me in good state, and I think after being a couple of decades in this industry, I think numbers is something which we go around with. I think that is one of the key skills, which is which if somebody has, will do very well in this industry. And because this is all about thinking on your feet. And if you're thinking on your feet and if you have numbers on your head, and when particularly you're starting up in your career. So I mean, I am not a guy who has too much. So being an engineer also, and also having a training out there, I never appreciated and please pardon me for that, I never appreciated the HR subject at school. So always is organization, behavior, everything I could not understand. So one equation I still remember, which one of my professors wrote on and this was done by one of the HR guy, who put it on the whiteboard, and he wrote that success is equal to, and I still remember it. It's so well etched in my memory that I still remember that one qualitative factor at that point in time, because it was explained in a quantitative way. So success is equal to skill into attitude. And what he told us was like, it was like a revelation. Now I understand it more, because I could not understand it that point in time. He said that attitude cannot be upgraded so easily. Okay, that is something very difficult. So if you put it mathematically, we know if we have full one on skill, which we can always build up our skill. We can train ourselves. We may take a little more time. We may take, so somebody will take 6 months to train themselves. We may take 12 months to train ourselves. Okay, but building attitude is not 6 and 12 months. it takes a very long period of time, and it is ingrained because of these micro things which are there into us and in our behavioral, how we react with people, everything. So that's a very, very challenging thing to do. And I now understand that very, very deserving guys along with me who were there probably lost on the way. The reason being, I think the attitude was very, very dominant at that time. I think the attitude of not giving up, the attitude of being a team member, the attitude of behaving properly, having a professional dispensation, all these things have mattered, I think, over a period of time. And I think your reputation carries. And this is something which I think in the spur of the moment, we say something, we do something. We need to look at this aspect even much more critically than what we may be expecting out of that. And I think, and that is something which I think I would like you guys to focus. So because you see clearly, mathematically also, if just look at it, if it's difficult to upgrade from say, for example, your skills is 1 and you have 0.75 in attitude. So if it takes me 2 years to upgrade my attitude from 0.75 to 0.8, means in the positive direction, obviously I'm talking about because I want to increase my success. So the point is that in 2 years, my degree of success will just be 80%. So that's something which we need to understand, because that is the place where the earlier we start in your career, the better it is. That is something which we should understand. So because the point which I'm trying to drive at is that skills we can pick up. So CFA charter holders, they have come through a rigor. They know that the curriculum which they have gone through is something which not, so we know the passing rates, we know everything, we know how difficult it has been. And if we can, if we have done this, we know our skills are pretty decent. We can definitely go out in the market and we can market ourselves. And marketing ourselves is a tough job. I think this is something which comes with a lot of baggage. And the point is that a lot of people are not willing to step out of their comfort zone, particularly people in our area who are analytically very high, quantitatively very good. They have some kind of reservation, and they have some kind of, I mean, let me not put it in say attitude, but they have some kind of reservation and all, because they think that, and they have good IQ. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have good IQ, but unfortunately, most of the jobs which are available in the market space don't require very high IQ. If you have a 160 or 140 IQ, that is not what a job requires. That about, you will be surprised that it is just about 100, 110. That's the IQ required for making your job successful. So that's something which you need to come down, and that is where the challenge comes in. So I think that is something which you need to understand at this point in time. The earlier you start in your career. So I'm assuming that most of you guys maybe in middle of your career or start of your career, and there's a long way to go. And this is exactly the point that what I'm trying to drive at this point in time. Another incident which comes, sorry.
Yeah. So DJ, here you made a very important point that it is very critical to, yeah, attitude is important, but along with the attitude, it is very important to market yourself. Now, sometimes when you go and project yourself, so there's a thin line between, pushing too much across, or so any idea around, how to balance it so that it is taken in the right spirit by the counterparties.
So, very good question, Rajni. I think that's because if you upset somebody so he or she may not have the position at that point in time, and you are trying to go and get a position. See the point. Another point which I would also, before answering that, I would say that most of the CFA charter holders are looking for investment positions. Okay, they are looking for they want to be analysts, they want to be investment managers. I mean, I think having worked in the industry for over 2 decades, I know that at the top it's a very flat hierarchy in the investment function. And till the point in time there is a flip in the economy, you will not find many jobs out there. The replacement happens only after say 20, 25 years, or whenever the phases in the economy comes in, when the growth happens. So these are the places. The fortunate part is that India has been growing pretty well, and there are many financial services areas which are opening up. For example, some years back, we did not have small finance banks. We did not have these microfinancial institutions, lending institutions. So a lot of jobs have come up there. The other point which I have is that at some point in time also, even if you are not open to it, sales is a very important function. As I said, market when you, so today, despite the fact that I also did not want to do a sales job, I have to go to my clients and talk about my fund. So that's a sales function. And clearly the point is that, I mean, at some point in time in your life, you have to take up more sales function than actually investment decisions. So I think that is something which you need to understand. And when you're marketing, you where you need to draw the line, you need to understand, because when you're conversing with a person, you understand where he's getting a little edgy. So you need to step back at that point in time and check with the person, and you will develop that sense when you're speaking to a person or persons. You know where you need to step back and where you need to take a step forward and try to build it up. The important point out here is you should be trying in all directions. That's the main thing. The point is that if you are looking for a particular job skill, for example, this is where I would come in. That I started off with a intermediary function. Okay, and I wanted immediately after 6 months. So I didn't know where I'm going. So this is, I mean, I'm not a product of information age. I was not so much well informed that what exact function. They said you're going to work in the fixed income market. So I said, okay, fixed income market. I was doing a research analyst job in a company which was providing training to Swiss bankers. Okay, this was a back office function in India, based out of India. So I mean, I just didn't want to do that for a very long period of time, but that grounded me, because the things which we did, it was kind of an extension of my studies in my college. So that helped me in getting to the nuances and the nitty-gritties of the bond market. So I had two modules with me: corporate finance and bond valuation. I became very good at bond valuation and corporate finance because of that job. But I wanted to do something practical. So when I was coming to Bombay at that point in time, I didn't get it what I am joining. So I was not very clear. I mean, I knew that it is fixed income market. I didn't know this is an intermediary function. In 6 months' time, I immediately knew I don't want to do this for a long time. I want to be a principal. Okay. Now my networking skill at that point in time, I started connecting, and it took me a hell lot of a time in those times. It took me almost 6 months. I realized it took me another 10 months to change. Just imagine. Okay. So that is, and that those were the times that the market was opening up. Jobs were available. So that is the time, and I network with a lot of people. So being an intermediary, I knew a lot of people. I network with them. I try to share my views. Okay, when I shared my views that this, so for example, I mean, I'll not get into the nitty-gritties of that switches and all those things. I shared my view that this switch is good, this is rich on the curve, this is cheap on the curve. Those kind of conversations are not there at that point in time. So why convexity is not used, why only duration is used, those kind of stuff. When I conversed, some guys probably got impressed and they put forward my name in certain organizations, and one of them clicked. So I think that is how you should need to work, because see, until unless you market yourself, and this is how I will say a practical example of market yourself. You should not ask for, I never asked for a job per se. I said, this is what I know, this is what I understand, and can you look at my CV? So this is certain people, I mean, they floated my CV. In fact, they did not have in their own organization the job, and they floated it somewhere else, and one of the places clicked. I didn't know the person where I finally got landed up with a job. So I think that is something which and that opened up huge. I mean, see, financial services, being in the, I mean, this is one of the highest paying industry. That is also the truth. And if you get into this industry at the right time, in the right profile, and the kind of job job uptick which happens over a set, so you don't realize it. So again, I am saying I was not that aware about all these things, but automatically it takes you up. So as the tide comes in, you get up and you go move up the ladder. So that's, and if you do your job properly, that's my thing. that if you do your job properly, focus on your job rather than doing anything other than your job, I think it pushes you up because people notice it, and particularly in the right places, it happens. That's my suggestion, that if you are pushing, you should understand it, where you're pushing, where you're annoying the person. You should put a stop then and there.
Yeah, so, TG, you made a very important point that, at the start of the career, you may not be, in the exact kind of the role which you aspire to be in, but it's important to be consistent in that role so that, you can create a glide path for yourself in the right direction. So not giving up and being consistent in that role is critical, because if you don't perform in that role, then you will not have that kind of reputation to build in.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is something which I am trying to point out. And my point is that if you are good in your job, if you are doing what you are trying to achieve, I think your reputation reaches the right places. Whenever the opportunity arises, you will be in the pecking order, definitely. And my point is also, so I mean, I think your skill sets also count. So what you are doing, if you have those, so CFA charter holders are recognized. It's not that they are not recognized. The opportunities may not be there, and if we become, again, see, it is a combination of skill and your attitude. Okay, at any, so start of your career, obviously skills matter. Whenever you will go to any organization at the start of your career, more questions come about your skill. Okay, today also, when in the last few jobs where I had given interviews, nobody asked that whether you know how to manage a fund. Okay, that question nobody will ask you. Okay, they know because they are calling me because they understand that I know how to manage fund. Now the point is that at that point in time, they are more bothered about what is the direction where I can take the company, how I will build it up, what are the things I will focus on, all those kind of stuff. But at the start of the career, people will ask you more about the macro economic condition. People will ask how you will manage a fund. If I give you so much money, what will you do with it? Will you go out there and will you buy it? So these were the questions which I used to get when I started giving interviews early in my career. But later on, the questions completely changed. In fact, there was very few questions around these areas. So clearly the skill and attitude part interchanges. Your requirement of your behavioral aspects increases tremendously when you move up the pecking order. And your skills is much more in dominance when you start for your early part of your career. That is why it is very important that you build up on your skill set. Keep on looking at upgrading it. So now reading is one of the important, sorry. So reading is one of the important things which we need to do in our kind of job. I think reading is something which is very, very integral to our job. When I think after your normal training, after your skill sets of your regular economics 101, your management 101, all those things, you take courses in your school. After that, you need to upgrade on it, whatever new is coming. For example, in art, and I mean, I'm not up to it, frankly speaking. When today artificial intelligence has come up, okay, if I was a little younger, probably, I mean, I'm still trying to, I'm not saying that I'm not learning, I'm trying to learn, but I am not getting it so much as probably a youngster would get it so fast. So artificial intelligence, etc., technology, they need to integrate it with their curriculum at this point in time, because that is going to be the future. Everything is going into your mobiles. Clearly we can see that transition. We can see that people are conversing more with their handset, and that is where the business will lie, and the younger generation is out there only. So you have to be conscious about that fact.
So DJ, let's assume, we will talk from the perspective of people who are, what kind of the skill set, or, how they should be focusing on when they transition from, let's say, junior level to middle level, and then middle level to senior level.
I think this is a very good question again, and how I have done it, I would tell you that I always try to focus that I would work level plus one. Okay, so whatever level I was working, for example, if I was working as a dealer, so as I told you, we have a very flat structure in our industry. So when, I mean, normally you come in as an analyst, then you maybe dealer or research analyst or something, you progress in one of those roles.
Mhm.
So what you do is you try to do the job of whatever level you are plus one. I think that's a good way of doing it. That is how you will gain a good knowledge of what your boss is doing. Even if he is not allowing you, I think there are challenges in certain places. I understand. This is where your attitude will come in. Means convince your boss that you're not a threat to him or her, and try to do that job at that point in time without him getting that whiff that you're trying to compete with him. So that is the point which I have practiced that. I mean, I had never had any issue when I transitioned from the junior level to the middle level and middle level to the senior level, because it was so natural. Because the point is that, I mean, I would request my boss, for example, somebody coming to meet him. So when in senior positions, you will always you have to converse with the external stakeholders at some point in time. For example, say rating agencies come, they want to present to something to you. I mean, in the rigmarole, you don't get the chance. Let's say if now post market hours somebody is coming in, so I say I will request that can I join the meeting. So that is the way to see. You have to request, and I think most of the people, most of the bosses are not ferocious. So you can always get the good side of them as well. So I think if I got a chance, I think everybody can get a chance, and they have to try. That's what I would say. I think that transition is completely dependent. And I mean, again, I mean, I would not rather quantify it, but I would say that definitely what happens is that when you are, say, a dealer, what is expected? For example, in our industry, okay, in mutual fund industry, when you are a dealer, you are expected to know the market. You know the how the market trades are happening. What is the buzz in the market? Where could the rates head? What are the counterparties doing? What is the general sense in the market? And is there some kind of news or the fund flow which is happening? Those kind of stuffs on the nitty gritty. So your job is like, even if you don't trade even 5 CR, then also your job is regular and onerous, because you need to be in the market. So getting time for other things will be difficult, no doubt. But that is where you need to come out with some time for yourself. I think when I was a dealer, I used to, when nobody asked me to write any report, okay, I used to write a small report at the end of the day. What it used to do for me, it used to help me in recollecting the events in the day, because in a rigmarole, you tend to forget what is happening. Then I used to notice what is the OIS level, what is the your interest rate levels, what is the money market level, what is the bond market level. So what happens is, and also some jobs, for example, some jobs with none of my colleagues wanted to do, I was okay with doing it. So like providing prices to some counterparty, okay, in my intermediary role, what it did to me, it helped me price the curve. Okay, end of the day, when I used to do that, a lot of my colleagues used to say, hey, I will not do, I will not do, you do it, if you want, you can do it, you can. So, but that helped me, because it was a very small job. Nobody wanted to do, it was a thankless job because it was outside my KRA. Nobody used to remunerate me for that, but it helped me price the curve. And when it helped me price the curve, I knew which section of the curve is underpriced or overpriced at the end of the day. So what used to happen is that it used to give me an insight. So I'm telling you, this is where I'm coming from. This is my live examples of, because I have focused on in this talk, I have focused on one simple equation, because I understand equation, I understand in quantitative is a love for me. So the point is that at any given point in time, it's easy to explain from equation. So this is, I think, from a life perspective, without getting into the nitty gritties and not putting too much of jargon into the conversation, this equation actually addresses the entire talk which we are having right now. So I think that skill and attitude, the balance of that is your life or your career path. If you can balance your skill and attitude, I think you will be progressing in your life. And it is also another thing is that looking at others and saying what he is doing or she is doing and saying where you should be is the wrong way. You should be self-aware. That is also another thing. What you are good at. So try to do things which you are good at. So for example, when I can price, okay, I can understand. I mean, my pricing typically has been pretty decent. Okay, so I can price the curve. I can come up with what is likely to happen. And sometimes people don't understand because I am talking about maybe 2-3 quarters down the line. So because I can see that happening over a period of time. So sometimes people say that, what are you gibberish you are speaking? So they don't understand because they are just anchored at the moment. So these are the things, if you think you can look at that and you have a foresight, this will help you in evolving yourself. And you can look at that and again market those strengths which you have and try to iron out the weaknesses, or if you can't overcome those weaknesses, try to put them back wherever those weaknesses are a hindrance. This is not the area which you should be taking up in your life.
So being aware about your own self, being proactive in asking with the right attitude, and marketing yourself. So these are the key takeaways from the conversation. Now, moving to the next questions. Typically, what happens is that people, financial services especially, they are as you mentioned the conversation also, they are really focused on the quants part of it, that you understand the maybe a valuation model or a pricing curve or any financial concept. But what happens is that typically while dealing with the stakeholders who are slightly less technical, let's say senior management, or maybe your investors in the mutual fund industry, how do you address that part? What are the things one should work upon so that the technical things can be communicated in a way that counterparty understands it?
Very good question. And I think that is the big reason why I never in my communication try to use any jargon. Okay, so I can always be the training which we had, we can always say counter-cyclical, but that is for the elite treasury guys. Okay, when I go and meet them, verbally I speak to them. It's pro-cyclical, counter-cyclical, these things we can use, but a person on the street doesn't understand and they appreciate it. By the way, when you break it down for them and try to tell them, so for example, when you're giving example, for example, if you have a curve and in the curve, what you have is there is margin of safety. Suppose the spreads have increased. Okay. And if you use margin of safety, they will not understand. Okay. What you need to tell them is that you need to break it down for them. Tell them that in the same time, if you were investing earlier, that amount of risk which you can take right now is more than what you could have taken earlier. So this is something which they will understand. Okay, risk return is something which is the basic level of investment. And when you break it down to risk return, they understand. But when you use margin of safety, duration, people get bogged down clearly. Okay, and in the treasury also, when for that matter, there are people who do not want to. So when I started again, I have been an intermediary. I started my career as an intermediary, and being an intermediary, I interacted with so many people. Okay, and because I knew all those things, and I started speaking convexity, I thought this is how people would be conversing. But nobody wanted to talk about duration, convexity, all those stuff. Okay, and later on I realized why also. Because the point is in India, your convexity doesn't come into pricing because of the simple reason, because the volatility in interest rate is not so high. So you don't see a change in interest rate of 100 basis point in India. And that is the reason why people don't do it. Intuitively, they don't do it, but they don't understand it. But the point is that you cannot talk like this. When you go to them, you cannot talk what is duration and what is the effect of convexity, and you try to price them. You have to break it down in simple terms, in terms which they can understand. Maybe if you have to go down to your native language, you have to go down to your native language where they understand, and they feel happy. When you आपने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से simple तरीके से समझा है. So this is something which I think happens when you try to break it down, and that is the reason why we don't want to confuse our investors. We want to make them more educated, encourage them towards plain vanilla products, which are simple to understand and which have a clear-cut risk return profile. Something which has a convoluted risk return profile, who an investor who is on the street, and mutual funds are like that. Mutual funds are the basic unit where we are trying to converse with the retail guys more. So it's on the face of it, It's not an institutional product. It's a retail product.
While we are continuing the conversation, I would encourage participants who have questions to raise their hands, and then you can directly interact with DJ. Yeah, we have 𝗗𝘄𝗶𝗷𝗲𝗃𝘀𝘁. Darshan, I would request to switch on your video. It's a good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, Darshan, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. I would like to introduce myself first. I am 𝗗𝘗𝗶𝗃𝘀𝘁. I'm a Python data analysis trainer. I've been working for 2 years. I'm looking forward to get into CFA. So I've started my preparation for CFA level 1. So right now I'm far away from the point where I could discuss the markets or the market trends and so, but I keep on reading. My first question is that uh, uh, I have skill set of Python data analysis, JavaScript, web development also. But I was wondering to get into fintech industry. The most of the time, sir has said CFA chartered holders. So that is a long way away from now. So I'm really scared that whether I would be able to enter the industry after CFA level 1, plus with the skills of CFA level 1 and the skills which I have right now. So is it possible, or shall I have to work more for wait more for CFA level 2? So if you could put some insight, it will be great.
Yeah, so good evening, Darshan. I think don't get anxious about whether you will complete it or not. So the point is that whether when you start up in your career, so I mean, let me also share with you, because I didn't want to put it anything in chronological order. I'm that person who was shit scared of the pink paper. Okay, so if I can work in the industry, anybody can work in the industry. That's something which I can tell you. And the point is that you need to have a passion for anything which you are doing. Okay, I mean, the basics in finance is not scary, by the way, and it's easy to understand. The only thing is, when you start loving a particular thing, your skill inhibitions can be overtaken by your love for the area. Okay, so passion for the area, what basic thing is. So my point is, and I do say that I mean, I would say that having a designation or having a charter holder definitely helps. Okay, it's a very rigorous curriculum, and it helps in addressing many issues. It's a very practical kind of curriculum which helps you in setting your basics and your conceptually making you very strong. Okay, having said that, it's not a stumbling block, I would say. Okay, your training in a particular thing, your passion in something can land you up a job. Not everybody in the investment industry is a CFA charter holder. Okay, so let me begin with that. So clearly, the point is that if you want to work in this fintech industry also, so I mean, I am not at all aware about what actually happens in fintech industry. Okay, my company may be using the fintech side of the business, but we are more focused on the investment side. Okay, the fintech is the future. That is also very clear. What I just mentioned, that probably people like us, when they move out in another 5-10 years, I think more and more people will adapt technology, even in investment. Okay, that is good, likely to happen, because that is the order of the day and that is the future. That is where the things lie today. I mean, we can clearly see everything is converging to the mobile device. Okay, so clearly the point is that, but I think a short answer is that don't get worried too much. Focus on your skill set right now. You're young. Okay, you are doing great, because I think I heard Python is something which is very much in demand right now, and stick to that. In fact, I had an attitude problem, because I mean, I started off my career in research analysis, and I was helping the programmers initially for about 16 months early in my career after my MBA program. I used to help. So what I used to do, it was a big struggle to make them understand basics of finance, because they are more into numerical analysis and all. They need to understand that numerical analysis, coding, etc. So what I had to do was, I had to put it in Excel. I had to learn Excel, modeling, etc. at that point in time, and late 90s. Okay, and I had to put it to them. Then they understood that what we need to do and then they used to program it in Java. So that is how the long drawn process used to be there. But how it helped me in the sense is that I started thinking structurally. Okay, so nothing is waste. So clearly the point is that at this point in time, you need to do it in the reverse. You probably are the techie guy. You need to understand the investment. And since you know the technological part of it, reading upon understanding your CFA, you will gain more. And I think gaining skill set doesn't hurt you. Even if you don't end up with a job, doesn't your learning comes in handy at any point in time. You never lose learning.
Okay, thank you, sir. It gave me a lot of insight about it. Also, one more question, if I'm allowed. Uh, what
Yeah, please go
what
ahead.
kind of as in magazines or blogs would you suggest for me to keep myself updated because when I get into that position, I need to be prepared for that, right? For the interviews
Definitely.
or to get into the market or get into the fintech market,
So fintech, I am not aware. I will
as
not.
in finance. I mean,
Because I think the place where I catch up on technology is CFA site. Okay.
okay.
Okay. So there are a lot of research articles out there, by the way. Again, if you know, I don't know. I use it because I'm a CFA member. I can get access to it. I go and read those things wherever I'm not understanding. The other place where I try to understand technology, etc., is Bloomberg. Bloomberg makes you understand, for example, for cryptocurrency. When I wanted to pick it up, there is something known as quick take on Bloomberg. Okay, it's a very simple thing where a person on the street can understand about a certain thing. So what's happening? So for example, what's happening in China, the power crisis, they will just make you understand it in 2 pages, okay, or maybe 3 pages. That's it, and you will understand the issue, what's happening. So I think Bloomberg is one, Reuters is another one. Okay, Economist. I love the magazine. Okay, not politically, but from a content perspective, from a financial market coverage. I love their insights, the way they think, the way they put it up. They may be wrong completely. I can also be wrong in my view. That's not a problem. But the point is they put it up very well. So I like Economist, your Financial Times. Okay, another important point, because what you have asked is another very important point, follow-up question for others also, in the sense that this is information age. I mean, I am also right now struggling to keep myself updated with so much information coming in. Look at sites or look at good publication. Okay, so the point is that, and limit them, start sifting through it and decide on 2 or 3. So for my so if I have to catch up on certain topics, I will probably just go for financial. So I have given you all, okay. But my source of information probably will be just Bloomberg and economics. I can't read everything. So I mean, I have limited time, okay. And if I have limited time, clearly I have to optimize. From that perspective, like I do, you also. So initially when I started out, I was reading many publications, but I have now boiled it down to these two.
Okay, thank you, sir. That answers my question.
So picking up from this conversation, so DJ, what would you suggest, career as a, how it involves, every time planning your next movement for reaching the ultimate goal, or it is more of an exploratory journey? How would you want to
Definitely the latter. Definitely the latter. And you can't plan. I mean, I had this question in one of my interviews, and the person had asked me that what do you think about and he could plan. So probably, so there are people who have been planning and they have been achieving. So I think they are very few. Okay. And I can't plan. I want to do my next job well. That's what I want. But I mean, it's something which you want to ask me. I mean, it's a personal thing, in the sense that I have only stuck to what I'm doing at that point in time, and I'm not focusing too much in the future. I'm trying to do what I'm doing best, and that has led me to better pressure. That's what I've seen. So in our industry is a very small industry. So if you do a job well, people refer you.
So the key takeaway is that to be aware about yourself and the kind of role you are into it, So depending upon the, the kind of choices you have, it could be either a planned journey, which happens to be with very few people, or it's more on the exploratory type.
So planned journey, I don't know. Again, I am my simple answer is I don't know about that.
Right.
Okay, but I have heard people saying that they have planned it.
Sure.
Okay, but they are very few, and so people, most of the people are fall in the category where they have planned, but the plan is not done accordingly. Okay, the point is that if it is better, and also to not to wait too much. There is the hibernation cannot be for long. If you are looking for a particular job area and you're not getting it, you need to look for alternates. You need to understand that what is the, so this is where I would suggest everybody who start of their career or early part of their career that look at the amount of opportunities available in that. What is the kind of competition? So just let me also put it with an example. For example, only after T20, the number of cricketers who were possible to who were making more money came up with T20. Okay. Prior to that, there were only 11 people who were making. Out of that, also only 3 or 4 people were making enormous amount of money. So from that perspective, if you talk about, this is the same logic which needs to be applied. Why we go for a formal schooling? Because that structured schooling will help me secure a job where I can at least make a certain amount of money. Okay, so that is the idea, and that idea still fits. So the point is that don't look at the doomsday theories. Okay, look at the positive side of it, and I mean it's easier said than done. I understand, but the people who go through struggle, I also have gone through struggle. And the point is, when I was looking to change my job, their first job, it was a very big struggle. But the point is that once you start getting into the direction where you want it to be, it becomes smoother. And that is where you should look at. I mean, I think that's where I am coming from. And I think that building up your skills is very important, the early part of your career. Working on your attitude as well, because you will require that. At some point in time, being pleasant with the people, it helps you. Having your image. So I am not saying fake it. Okay, I'm not at all saying that, because if you fake it, it will somehow the other way get exposed. Okay, don't fake it, but try to build some. So for example, let me put it in another way also. If you can break one bad habit, okay, you have it in you. Frankly, okay. For example, if you have picked up smoking or you've started exercising, okay, that's something which shows that you can pick bad habit and you can take up good habit. So that's the change which I am suggesting. I am suggesting that if you can build up those small elements of change into you, I think it will go a long way in making up your career. People appreciate if you, and people evaluate you every time. I mean, everybody is in your work area is judging you, whether you know it or not. They are judging you. If you leave early, people will note. If you come in late, people will note. So you have to bear that in mind and understand what is going to impact your career or the prospects of your career and how you are going to build it up. So it's a simple point that when you are working with people, okay, the next job you get is on reference. There's a reference check. In early start of your career, a lot of reference until the market is really heating up. That's, we have seen that in 2006, 2007, where the market was heating up. People were not looking at or not doing any reference check. They were just hiring. Okay. Later on, they fired also. Okay. But the point what I'm trying to drive at is that those times are few. Most of it, what you do in your jobs, the reference check, referrals happen, the reference check happen, even if it is a different area altogether. People will try to find what is the kind of a person who's working there.
Yeah, so we have one question from Sri Harini. Sri Harini, would you like to ask that question? We can unmute Sri Harini.
Line. Huh?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Priyan.
Good
Tell
evening,
me.
ma'am. So my question is, I'm in my final year of BCom, and I want to get into a job after my bachelor's, and I'm also a CFA level 1 candidate. So when I was going through LinkedIn, most of the entry-level finance jobs require a master's degree. So as of now, my only interest is to pursue finance, to have a career in finance. So how can a bachelor's, I mean, somebody who completed UG can get into a finance role? What are the few skills that you would suggest?
So probably getting in you probably will get into finance role, because if you have, but then the competition at the UG level is very high. Okay, clearly these are let me not put it or discourage you, but the point is that why these entry level barriers are set up to basically shift the competition. Okay, and one thing, even if you get through into UG and so the skill sets is clearly you can give more exams on your NSC series. Okay, the more practical exams which are available. So NSC exams you can give in, which can make you ready for the market jobs. Okay, something in equities, CMP, all these exams you can give in after completing a UG. Okay, CFA you can complete. It will make you ready for your job. But again, the point is that at some point in time, I think CFA will definitely not be a deterrent. If you do even after BCom, probably you will get a job and you may not face any issues in your organization. But the point is that if you are not a master and you are compared with another person, at some point in time in your life, you will have an issue at that point in time. So in the sense that when the promotion comes in, the HR will look at the profile, and where the profile matters at the lower levels, where people are looking at whether we can take this profile up or not, you could lose compared to another person who is having a PG also. I hope that answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so we have next question from 𝗦𝗿𝗶𝗃𝘀𝘁 Saxena. Can we please unmute 𝗦𝗿𝗶? 𝗦𝗿𝗶, you will switch on your video.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Actually, I'm from an engineering background, and I completed my engineering this year only. And currently, I'm working in Cognizant as a software engineer. But also with that, I'm currently pursuing my CFA level 1 program, and I gave an exam in August. And so basically, my question is that how a person from an engineering background compete with a person with having a finance background or a CA person? So how do you convince an interviewer that you can also be a potential candidate for that position that other finance guy is also interviewing for? So how do you answer that question?
So what I have seen, it was actually very interesting. I'll tell you, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, that in the MBA school, when we were studying this basic financial accounting 1 and basic financial accounting 2, before the session started, our professor, he said that one of the engineers will talk. We were not convinced, because we thought that this is how it is possible, boss. There are BCom guys, and they were chartered accountants also, who had come for completing their MBA management degree. It was at that time in late 90s, it was a rage. MBA was a rage. Okay, still is, but it is not that big a rage now compared to, because the kind of options available today are many more compared to those times. But I think, and he was right, by the way. BFA 1 and BFA 2, both was taught by an engineer. Okay, because what they focus in management accounting, management schools is concepts. Okay, and engineers are analytically very strong. So they understand that analytical reasoning, where the things are happening, because of this, what will happen. So all those things are actually what people are looking for in a higher up role. When you're looking for forensic accounting or something like that, so maybe you will not be as an engineer and MBA, you will not be hired there. Okay, It will be more like a chartered accountant who will be hired there. But what I'm trying to say is you are as good as them, because in analytical reasoning and power, you can always do it, and they deliberately look for engineers in a lot of roles. Okay, so that is not the point. The point is that you need to so you are in the right direction. You're picking up CFA. Once you complete your CFA charter, one of the stumbling block in terms of comparison will be over, because if you have a proper charter holder and you have completed your charter, people will recognize you that you have gone through a rigor, you have gone through a curriculum, and you are you know certain minimum basics about the financial services sector. In fact, in financial services, lot of places, I don't know, I worked in MNCs. Okay, so in the MNCs, the CFA charter holder is recognized very strongly. Okay, so if you are working in a European company or an American company, a CFA charter holder will be like regarded very high compared to, say, they will not recognize your MBA student, but they will recognize your CFA charter holder. I think that is something which is very important to understand, and I think it's not a stumbling block being an engineer. The point is that this is what I also said, that I was not very conversant with the financial terms. I was scared of the financial terms, but your love. I mean, for me, it was my professor who was teaching in our school, who was very good because of his simple ways in which he used to explain concepts, etc. I got interested, and I started delving deep into it and started reading up a lot, because of which finally I was able to make it. I mean, I think again, best of luck for your journey, but I can definitely say it's not a stumbling block. Being an engineer is not a stumbling block.
Okay,
So
thank you.
nugget of the wisdom for the evening is that your love for the subject will help you overcome the inhibition. So probably you can follow that path.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Actually, I had one follow-up question with that. For example, if I apply for many companies, should I apply for the companies after I clear my CFA level 1, or should I wait for my CFA charter holder?
You should keep on applying. See, effort is not lost. If you want to make up your career there, why to wait?
Yeah.
You're gaining knowledge every day. See,
Yes.
knowledge is not bound by. So, I mean, again, I just answered that. Somebody asked that if I am not able to be a CFA charter holder, does it mean that CFA charter holders are not working in the industry? Okay, it's a rigorous degree. Okay, charter. Okay, but the point which it adds to your value, definitely. Okay, it adds to your curriculum. Okay, sorry, CV. Okay, but the point is that can you not work? It's so stupid to say that you can't work without a charter. Okay, so it's because that is not something which is right to say, frankly speaking, because the point is that is what you are doing or what you're learning adds to how you get up a job. If somebody understands and wants to give you a chance, they can definitely give you a chance without that also. In fact, some time back, there were not many charter holders in India. So were they not working in financial services sector?
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so next question. I would encourage participants to come on the screen and ask questions.
I think it is Hitesh.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, hi Dvijendra, thanks for the
Yeah.
session. It's insightful. I would generally like to ask, how do you look at a resume gap? Do you prima facie reject, or do you, have a conversation, assuming the skill sets are matching with the profile? So, what are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think this is some profiling. See, what happens is in every organization, there is some department known as human resources, so where the profiling happens. Okay, if they are getting resumes where they think that that resume is suitable for the position, and even if there is a gap, they can look at it. They can make it one of the candidates. And I think if you are able to explain your gap properly, what you have done, I would say a lot of people try to hide it. Okay, and they try to lie about it. When typically you catch a person like you, because it is evident what you would have done. You have seen those gaps. Okay, and you have also seen your peer group also. Now, my point is, when you are early in your career, so if a year gap or a 2-year gap has happened due to certain condition, now people recognize it also. Okay, when you're working for 30 years, that 2 year will not matter or 1 year will not matter. Okay, so I think that thing which you try to understand and try to work, instead of trying to justify your gap, you try to work in for the skill set which you want to acquire, or try to work for the job which you are working for, in the sense that you try to figure out that how you will be giving a good so if you have been called, how you'll be. I don't think most organizations where they want to reject, they will reject. Okay, but most of the places they are not looking at it so negatively per se, until unless the person starts, and we have seen that in most of the time the person starts lying. That's the problem.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Fair
so,
enough. Makes sense.
so
Thank you.
DJ, till now the advice has been, on the side of what one should do and etc., like attitude and building skill set, being positive, being resilient. Now, one question I would like to pose is that, sometimes when we plan a path or not an entire path, maybe a next step, but sometimes outcome doesn't is as we expected for. So how do, and I'm sure, when a career is a long marathon, 20, 30 years. So I'm sure each one of us is going to come across those kind of situation at least once. So how do you handle those kind of scenarios?
Again, this is individual. Okay, and I think you should be ready for it. You should be ready for it, and you should be like a bouncy. Okay, and you should spring back. I mean, I think it's very, again, I am saying easier said than done, because the point is that it's difficult because you don't know the mental makeup, but this is where you need to be strong. That is where I'm saying that if you end up getting into a tough situation, I think you should remind yourself that you are good. That's one thing which you should do. And I mean, if you have, so think about the positive things you have done in life. Any bad, as I told you, when people, you should recount, you should write it down on a piece of paper, on a diary or somewhere, and you should recount what you have done. You're good, you're not worthless. Okay, and again, I think you should look at the career again, do a hard stop, look at the places where you can look at alternate places where you could work. I mean, I have seen certain, let me also put it in a with an example now, for example. Okay, if the economy is not doing well, you are well trained into it. If the economy is not doing well, people are losing their job who are already working there. Okay, maybe 2 years back, you have asked for a job from the person and that person is no more in a job. Okay, in that situation, how you will get a job easily? Okay, so you should have multiple options where you should find opportunity, which sectors could do well in that time. Try to look for alternate positions at that point in time, instead of making a dive for the same places where you had a fancy in your school or at the time when you started up. That's something which I think you need to build up in your psyche at any given point in time. Because see, whoever it may be, even if he is the promoter of the company, he cannot give you a job, I'm telling you. Because if he doesn't have a position, he cannot give you the job.
Right. So next question.
Needs to be positive. Needs to be positive. You have to, and it's again easier said than done, but positive frame of mind means doing it. I mean, writing all the good things you have done, you pick the bad habit. What are the positive things which you have on your CV? If you had cleared a CFA charter, you have you're a chartered accountant, you are a MBA, you are an engineer. So whatever you have done, you see, if I have done this, I had gone through competition. I mean, top 2% of the country. In a country which is 138 crores of population, being top 2 crores also is big number. 2% is also big number. So my point is that at this point in time, you need to remind yourself of that. You should look for alternate. And see, the point is, let me be also bold in saying that at this point in time, if you're early part in your career, you should also plan going outside the country. There will be more options outside the country. There are many countries which are facing issues where the fertility rates have come down. Job options will be definitely there. People like you will be in demand.
So till now, the conversation has been on the career part. What are the aspects of your personality out of work which you feel shape you as a professional?
I think discipline. That's the number one thing. I think our markets work in a particular time. Okay, for example, the fixed income market works from 9 to 5. Post pandemic, it has been 10 to 3:30. But the point which I am trying to drive it is general, it is 9 to 5. You need to be half an hour early on your desk, read up on the market news, have some discipline, come there, do the jobs which you have to do in time, which people are expecting you to deliver. And again, I think look at building up your skill set during that time. Networking, another thing, I think very important because of the simple reason that if you know more people, it helps you, definitely. Even if you're, I think most of us are introverts, okay, because I think our expression is low. Clearly, what I have understood, and including me, the point is that I may speak with 1 or 2 people very well, but I cannot get out of my comfort zone and speak to many people. Okay, I will not spend my energy to go and speak to somebody, but it helps you. When you express yourself in front of somebody, you understand what level you have. Okay, what is the kind of, and they have a positive. If they take a positive impression out of you, your marketing happens. That's what you were saying. Okay. So that marketing is something which happens like this, informally. It happens much more than what you will try. So marketing is not something which you do on a daily basis by going to somebody and saying, I am good. No. So that is something which when you speak, they know what you have been doing. And then they say, another key aspect I would say is being humble. Whatever, I think I have seen people being very arrogant in our industry. Okay. So obviously you earn a lot of money. Earning a lot of money, staying in very good houses, I think doesn't give you the right to be arrogant. Okay. So I think the guys who are here, hopefully they are either in the middle of their careers or start of their career. I think each one of us should realize that if we are humble, it makes us a much better human being. And that also helps in, whether you realize it or not, it will definitely help in propagating your career.
Sure. So, any further questions from the participants? Now, I think we are coming to the end time of the show. And thank you, DJ. It was really an insightful session. I had a lot of key takeaways from the session, and I'm sure the participants will also have got really insights and they can apply in their career and be successful. So on behalf of CFA Society, I thank you for taking out time on a Friday evening, and I thank each and every participant for coming on a Friday evening with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Rajni, for the kind introduction and summary. I think I also enjoyed the session, particularly knowing that a lot of youngsters are trying to make it big. And I will be very happy if I notice some names out here to make it real big.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure being here.